Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're back with another weekly recap. So this week we had a pretty small update. We got information on Bounty Hunter as well as a few quality of life changes. However, there was a lot of information in the Q&A about future death mechanics, which we're going to talk quite a bit about, as well as a GE tax. That has been brought up again. On top of that, I'll be going over any news related to the community this week, and of course the Q&A. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and let's get started. Okay, so first up here, let's have a look at this week's game update. Now, it did happen a day early, so the game update was actually on Wednesday. Not really sure what the reason was for that. Now, these are all taken from poll number 69, which are all going to be quality of life changes for the most part. Okay, first up here we have Phoenix Pet Recolors. I swear that has been a suggestion for years now, but you can now recolor your pet Phoenix to green, blue, purple, and white. Now to do this, you use 250 of the same colored firelighters. However, another 250 red firelighters will turn it back to the original color. Please note that this is not a unlock. You will need to use 250 firelighters every time you want to change the color. There has been a new emote added, the Explore emote. You can unlock it by completing 600 beginner clue scrolls. If you've met these requirements already, you will need to open one more beginner clue casket to unlock the emote. Now with the removal of the Bounty Hunter update, there were a lot of items kind of in limbo. Now Bounty Hunter is set to return in March, however for the meantime there's going to be a temporary solution to obtain a lot of these items. When they are first testing the Bounty Hunter rework, we added the room pouch and the looting bag to the Slayer Master's reward shop to ensure that they were still obtainable. We've done the same on this occasion, and we've taken the opportunity to make other items available via PvP activities. Now first up here, the Slayer Master will sell a rune pouch for 1.2 million coins, however Ironman cannot purchase this. The Slayer Master will also sell looting bags for 30,000, however Ironman are actually able to purchase that one. The Ornate Maul Handle is now available in the Last Man Standing reward shop for 15 points. A lot of people wanted it to be added to the Grotesque Guardian. They do answer that in the Q&A, so we'll leave that for now. The Saradomin's Tear is now available in the Last Man Standing reward shop for 150 points. And the Magic Shortbow Scroll, Ring-a-Well Scroll, and the Clue Box have been added to the Wilderness Slayer loot table on the enchantment roll. So they have dispersed some of the more important rewards from Bounty Hunter to other things, and it really kind of just goes to show how little there is from Bounty Hunter, because that is a very minimal amount of things that were actually coming from Bounty Hunter. Yes, that wasn't everything, but there are very few rewards that were actually integral for the game, or even non-cosmetic at least. Okay, so next up here, they're testing out a new welcome screen. In September, we tested out an updated welcome screen layout, which replaced redundant information and dead space with information about the game's content. We're pleased to announce that it went very well, and it'll be rolling out for everyone this week. If you'd prefer to see the old layout instead, we have placed a switch style button in the left corner. So there will be a toggle for anyone who is not okay with this. Personally, I think it looks a lot better. Now with Bounty Hunter gone, they're making a few other changes to PvP at the same time. First up here, that means that World 324 and 325 will be PvP worlds simultaneously, and they're going to be making the following changes. The PJ timer will be extended from 10 seconds to 15 in single way combat. And they've also reduced the range of combat levels for permitting combat from 15 to 10. Within the wilderness on those worlds, the permitted level range will still increase according to how deep you are in the wilderness. However, they are totally prepared to revert this if it doesn't actually improve the PvP experience. Okay, there's a few other minor changes here, and a pretty big one actually. One of the big ones is the emblem trader for the Revenant Cave. That has now been added to World 318 and 319. So you can now trade in your emblems once again. It was unavailable for a few days again, and the emblems started dropping in price, but there now is a new location to turn those in. And last up here, the high stakes LMS has now had its entry fee raised to 100,000, and it may even rise further in the future. Anyway, that is going to be it for today's game update. Pretty minor, but a few pretty important changes as well. Now first up for community news, there actually is a Nightmare of Ashihama teaser video. Went and watched it. A little cringy, I thought, but whatever, it's promo material, I'll take it. However, besides that, there's actually some in-game teasers. The administrator of the RuneScape wiki actually posted one last week. However, there is a second teaser, and that is while you're in Mauritania, there is a 10% chance that something will appear upon your death. It kind of looks like a hermit crab, but probably not. Now, one thing a few people mentioned this week is that they received a push notification for old school RuneScape. However, it was a generic Clash of Clans-esque push notification that was really not relevant. It said, "Oi hero, there are dragons to slay, quests to complete, and loot to be found, play now." So yeah, in this iteration, I would not be super happy with push notifications. However, they actually have an extensive discussion about it in the Q&A, so we'll leave that for now. Now, last week there was an interview with Mod Matt K. However, this week there was an interview with Mod Reach, who had a somewhat controversial departure quite a long time ago at this point. It really is a good interview, and if you have quite a bit of time on your hands, I would recommend going ahead and watching it. Now, next up here for a few achievements, a team actually completed a sub 10-minute Barbarian Assault run by El Prodigy, Carlos Rex, Hanky18, Spud, and Hendy. So congratulations, that is very impressive. A Reddit user by the name of famous... Okay, wait, I can't actually say that. Anyway, a Reddit user actually got 2 pieces of Third Age, and not only that, they got it from a mimic fight. I'm not sure if anyone's ever gotten 2 pieces of Third Age at once in the old school RuneScape. I know it has happened in RS3, but this could easily be the first time, and that is so lucky. And last up here, someone made the entire free-to-play map in Roller Coaster Tycoon. A very creative medium. I never expected anyone to make something in that game. You know what, someday I want to make a video on all these fan project maps. But anyway, that is pretty much it for community news this week. Okay, so now I'm going to be doing a recap of the Q&A, and there's actually a ton of information here about a wide range of topics. So I'm going to be going a little more in depth into the answers here, and we'll kind of see what has happened this week. Okay, first up here, why is the Maul handle not on the Grotesque Guardian? They said it would make more sense to come from a PvP minigame. They do envision it being temporary. A pretty strong counter argument is that pretty much none of the PvP weapons are obtained through PvP, and thematically the ornate Maul handle would make a lot more sense to be on the drop table for the Grotesque Guardian. So what is going to be happening with Bounty Hunter in PvP? They are intending to bring back Bounty Hunter in late March. They're going to take all of February to find a longer term solution for Bounty Hunter and PvP in general. What are you guys going to do to fix the laggy high scores? They said the boss high scores are particularly laggy, and they're considering just taking them down, or at least freezing them for now until they can find a solution. Now, there's been a lot of talk about nerfing Volcano. Is that going to be happening? They said they've received some drop recommendations from the data team, and they are going to be changing Volcano. Now that pretty much means they're going to be nerfing Volcano most likely. Volcano has been producing a ton of resource items, onyxes, stuff like that. So there's definitely going to be a change. I'm not sure if they're directly going to be nerfing the drop table, but something is changing. Now there's some questions about the push notification. They agree that the way they sent the initial message out is not how they want to do it in the future. Currently they're just experimenting. However, they did say it was actually very effective in bringing back players, even with the generic message so far. However, they admit they would be better for game updates, news, and stuff like that. And actually, one of the moderators is currently working, or at least on the initial stages, of a planned update that would allow you to get in-game messages through push notifications. So the idea is that they'd all be toggleable, and you would put on the ones that you want. One of the notifications could be the last thing that you planted, so your farm run. Tiers of Gothics, they said, would be a good one. Birdhouses and daily resets like buckets of sand and stuff like that. They did, however, mention, unfortunately, that they can't do it for the Grand Exchange because of some current code limitations. That is very sad. That would be the most important one for me. Okay, so what does the community think of a small GE tax? Well, there was a straw poll to begin with here, and 43% were actually against it, or at least in the current proposed state. It gets brought up often because the dual arena tax was so successful. So another thought is, well, we might as well tax the Grand Exchange. That would be the largest gold sink that could ever be put in the game. Now, what's a little concerning is the amount that they briefly mentioned offhand is 2 to 3%, which would be ridiculously high. That would be way too much. Divide that by 10 maybe, and that would be acceptable, but there are definitely some issues with taxing the Grand Exchange. Now, obviously, I'm speaking from a bit of a biased standpoint. Now, one method is they would tax the buy and the sell transaction. However, they mentioned another weird one where they would only be taxing if you underpaid for an item. For example, if you were prepared to pay $50,000 for an item, yet you paid less, they would be taxing that amount. That would be very strange. I don't think that would actually work. People would kind of just be adverse to leaving offers in for a long time. They mentioned if they did put a tax on the Grand Exchange, it would only scale up to a limit of maybe 100,000 GP as a max tax. So they didn't seem that keen on actually implementing it. Okay, next up here is a discussion about the death mechanics. It gets asked a lot, but They're actually going to be putting a blog forward very soon, and they seem to have some death mechanics locked down. So the items will go on the ground where you died, however the timer will only go down when you are online. Also, the gravestone will be available in any world, however if you died in a PvP world, you will have to go back to a PvP world to get your stuff. For deaths in an instant, you could have the gravestone appear outside of it, so you wouldn't actually lose everything, which would actually make those death scenarios much safer. This wasn't really possible without a gravestone because in the past, if you had a bunch of people dying in instances and all of their items appeared on the ground, there'd be too many items on one spot and the game would start deleting them. Now the timer for the gravestone would count down for something like 15 minutes is what they were proposing, plus or minus, and if you didn't make it back in time, you'd lose all your stuff. However, if you made it there in time, you'd be able to reclaim all your items. However, there would be a fee. For lower levels, there wouldn't be much of a fee, but for players with expensive gear, there would be a fairly substantial fee. You would be able to pay for the gold from your bank or directly from your death pile. Now, if you died a second time, you wouldn't lose all of your items, however, it would cost more. And to prevent people from dying somewhere more convenient, like in Lumbridge, for example, the very first place you died is where you'd have to go to reclaim your items. And the last thing they mentioned regarding death mechanics is they would potentially consider moving the death spot to outside of the God Wars boss rooms so that you wouldn't always lose your items if you didn't have an ecumenical key to go back there in time. Now, one kind of interesting thing that happened this week is players were muted for saying a phrase which was banked 580. Now, the reason for that was that banked 580 was being used in a scam. For example, they would direct you to a YouTube video and search up banked 580. So it then got added as a mutable phrase, but I'm pretty sure they went ahead and fixed all of that. And last up here, what is the latest on the Sarachnis timer change? They said it will be added in the next poll, so you should be seeing it very soon. Anyway guys, that is going to be it for today's update. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.